Business turnaround in 10 minutes? I don't think so. What I really want to do is talk about business turnaround in less than 10 minutes over 10 less than 10-minute sessions. And that will include covering the 5 turnaround strategy that I used when I set up the business recovery scheme for the United Kingdom government some years ago, which resulted in saving something like 135 SMEs from going under, from going into insolvency. So we're going to be talking about how to turn around a business, either your business or a business that you're advising. It is not the answer to every turnaround situation. It is the approach that I've used, which includes a diagnostic, it includes planning elements, and it uses principally root cause analysis to identify the real issues in the business and how to resolve those. So I first of all like to start off with looking at the reasons for a business failure, and then going into an outline of the 5-point turnaround plan. So here we go. Well, I first of all like to define what I mean by a turnaround situation, or where a company is going to go into insolvency. It's why, if no remedial action was taken, the company's performance would continue to deteriorate until such a point that recovery would become impossible. So what this is really saying is that there is a moment in time at which we have the capacity and the time to actually resolve the problems. Otherwise, it could be too late to do anything. So, looking at some of the reasons for businesses going into decline, there's 4 that I've seen in my experience. These are the main ones that I see. The first one is gradual decline, with performance gradually going down, because it may be a lack of attention by management into the issues in the business. It may be a decline in market. Products only last for a certain amount of time, and if they're not replenished, renewed, or they're not in line with the trend in the marketplace itself, then we tend to lose sales. A lot of companies I deal with tend to depend upon the same customer base and don't replace that customer base by looking at new businesses, new customers, new clients, etc. And so we get into the gradual decline. And sometimes these are the worst cases to resolve, because the company is on a path towards failure and needs dramatic action. We then get other situations where there could be a sudden drop in trading. This may be anything to do with losing a major contract, so where we've got a high level of concentration in our customer base on 1 or 2 customers, and that customer suddenly goes somewhere else. That can be a significant problem. It could be just a drop in performance in the marketplace. It could be changes in the supply chain. Currently, we've got issues about fuel and oil, etc. And a lot of companies will suddenly find that they've now got serious problems about how they're going to fund their utilities. So a sudden drop in trading can have a catastrophic effect as well. But then get, which is quite common, what I call mediocre performance. Some people call them zombie businesses, which I think is quite an unkind phrase to use. But a mediocre performance is where a company really, it's probably been well established. Nothing changes. 1 month we make a small profit, then we make a loss, and a profit again. Quite often these companies have investors, and they will continue to go back to the investors and ask for further injections of capital, which investors are quite loath to do. And the company will continue to go on this path until eventually it starts to run out of cash, and then we reach a point of no return. Sometimes these companies usually can quite quickly improve performance in these businesses. For example, I had one business which was fitted this category, and when I went to run the factory, I said how many of these products are made regularly, and it turned out to be 47%. But but the company was always running out of cash, kept going back to the investors. The investors said, we don't want to spend any more money on this particular client. They've got to sort their own problems out. So what I did was then to create a standard product line. We didn't move any machines around. We just classified these products separately. Realized that they could be produced within 7 days. We had invoice discounting, and we could draw down within 7 days on the invoice discounting. I then negotiated with the material suppliers, steel, negotiated to give us an extra £50,000 of credit. The markup on steel was 100%. So for £50,000 of credit, I got a sales value of £100,000, reduced it in a week, invoiced it, and drew down it and paid for the next batch. And that act alone saved that particular business. Another area which is quite common is that of overtrading. High growth companies that are following the marketplace and generating the sales, but cash is not coming in as quickly as it could be, and we start to run out of cash. We can't fund materials, we can't fund the trading. Eventually, if we don't do something, the company could face insolvency. So these are some of the reasons that I've seen for business decline. There may be many others that you come across yourselves. Looking at the life cycle of a business, this is generic and applies, I think, in most cases, in my experience. First of all, we have the growth situation. We've got a startup, the company's growing, it's developing, and usually it's driven by an entrepreneur who's ambitious, who probably leaves a weight behind them, doesn't like the detail perhaps, is out there growing and building, and that's what he or she is particularly good at. We then reach a position where things are settled, we've secured the market, we've built a great business, and we need to consolidate. We need structure, we need systems, we need procedures putting in place. And we perhaps need a different kind of person than an entrepreneur. We need somebody who's more of an administrator, somebody who's organized, somebody who's more structured to run the business. And then at some point we have a crisis. And again, we need a different skill set, not entrepreneurial, not an administrator, but somebody that can react in a crisis situation, who probably looks at things in the short term with a view to turning a business around and building a future. It's a different kind of skill set. And I think it's worth bearing this in mind when we're looking at where your particular company is on this chart. Finally, let's talking about financial reconstruction, which is quite common amongst the insolvency profession, who will often classify financial reconstruction as a turnaround. To me, it is not. To say that we will bang a company into administration, we'll sell off half the assets, we'll dismiss half the staff, and we'll sell what's left, the business, to another company, is not, to me, what I would call a turnaround. I'm talking in these particular sessions about operational turnaround, about turning around the business, about doing things differently. So to me, financial recovery can work in many cases, but quite often what that happens is that we refinance the business, we go through an process, and quite often we will just put the business back to where it was before. This quite often happens with corporate company voluntary arrangements, CVAs, where the companies refinance, renegotiate with creditors, but nothing changes. The company is still struggling for cash, may have difficulty servicing the CVA, etc. Money was working it in the same style, and so nothing changes. And all that happens is that we end up back into resuscitation once again. And I see time and time again, 73% of CVAs actually fail in the UK, actually fail. So just finalising down, what I'd like to do in the next session is go into more detail on the 5-point turnaround plan, which, as you can see here, it involves a diagnostic. It involves creating a window of time, breathing space, whilst we plan the longer term, and then implement it and manage it. And I'll be going into some detail on each of these sessions. So that's the end of this session today. You can find more information about this in my book, Business Turnaround, How to Do It, which is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. That is there for you to read if that's of interest to you. I hope that you do, of course. Not that I'm going to make a lot of money out of it. That's not the point. It's just that it's my sort of contribution to the turnaround arena. And anyway, so that's the end of the session, and I look forward to speaking once again to talk about the 5 turnaround plan and how we can turn around a business in 10 minutes.